I should probably add myself to the stream. Isn't it fun? Isn't it? So I was trolling through some videos here, and I came across this. Oh my God, it's really hard to imagine. This is a video, I believe it's from Massachusetts, and this was done during the Reagan administration. So I'm going to just assume it was 40 years ago in 1982. Now, what was different? Well, the whole fembot thing just got kind of rolling. The abortion thing was going on, no fault divorce, all that other stuff. And the fembots were flexing their muscles a little bit. And these guys are talking about men's rights. They claim it's a backlash to feminism. Wow, I don't know about that. What do you guys think? Bluntly Blondie, hey, good to see you. What's going on? Always glad to have you in the show. Eric Zombro is here. So anyway, now part of the problem with this video is it's only in the right speaker. So we'll have to live with that. Okay, so I don't know. I have no details on this, except that apparently it was some kind of chat show, breakfast show, or whatever.
Follow the news, and certainly most women are very much aware of the strides through a lot of effort that women have made for equality in the face of sexual discrimination and discrimination in the workplace. And you know the story.
Remember, it's 40 years ago. Right? Now, it wasn't until, I believe, 1976 that it became illegal for a business to fire a woman who got pregnant, right? Up until then, it was legal, which is crazy. You can't even imagine how silly that kind of thing was, but that it was legal. So they changed that law. The Equal Rights Amendment, which was in the 1970s, ran out of time about 1979, 1980, so it didn't pass. Vietnam War was over by that time. And fun little fact, 1981 is when Ronald Reagan reinstituted selective service. So Mr. Hamster had to sign up and get your, all that stuff where you couldn't get a student loan, you couldn't get a government job, right? Yeah, keep that. That's the time frame we're talking about. This was a long time ago. Vietnam War ended, what, almost 50 years ago? All right, let's continue.
Well, there are three people here today who are qualified to talk about men's rights and in particular discrimination that they say that men face. And I want you to meet Fred Hayward. Fred is the founder of Men's Rights Incorporated, a group founded to address the problems of men and reverse sexism, which I also have a hard time with. Sexism is sexism, but at any rate.
Just like racism is racism, right? No. They had to change the definition to what position of power, privilege, or some crap. Thus, a certain race of people can't be racist to a certain other set of people. Do you hear my point? Polska Bob is here. Hamsters. I don't have any beer, though. So, Hankowitz, Polska Bob is here. And Bluntly Blondie. Yeah, it has been a while. Holy crap. It's been a long time. So, all right, let's get back to this. I'm not sure who this guy is, but he said he graduated high school 20 years ago. So this guy is going to be in his 80s by now, I would guess.
Right. And Carol Wasserman. Carol is an attorney with the
wealth. He'd been 40 and in 40 years. Yeah.
Of experience in the area of family court. Carol, good morning to you. And Stephen Brown. Stephen is from Cape Cod and he's about to tell us about his real experiences because he was in court for a long, long time. Look at this expression off.
Now, this hairstyle was, and I'm not saying she's copying Rebecca De Mornay from Risky Business, but Rebecca had this kind of hairstyle. So
too long.
Got out about 10 minutes ago, huh?
A divorce proceeding at the Cape. All right, Fred, go ahead.
I think Risky Business was like 1982, wasn't it? It was a long time ago. I know that.
Tell us, what is this all about?
Already we have a point of agreement. I don't like the phrase reverse discrimination either. I never use that because that implies that there's something exceptional about discrimination against men. And I think that it's discrimination against men has been very typical.
All right, now,
so
what is
this
deal?
Phrase, but I think that you...
No, this chick here, of course, is not having any of this, as you can imagine. Oh, my, what do you mean? But what about the pay gap? My point is the arguments have not changed, and nothing else has either. We're still basically in the same boat as we were 40 years ago.
You might. I think you're being misled by two things. One is the feminist notion that men's rights is the opposite of women's rights, and don't get defensive about the idea of men's rights. Men's rights is a necessary corollary to women's rights. We support all the basic women's issues.
Human rights.
Yeah, we support all the basic women's issues. We recognize that men can't achieve liberation unless women achieve liberation.
Okay, this is where he's like, not Paul Elam. Who's the other guy? a little wishy-washy, but okay, it's not.
And we only ask for the same things from men that we're asking for women.
All right, but let me just add a couple of things. Women still make 57 cents on the dollar as compared to every man.
Well, at least she didn't say they were paid 50% less. She said earned, so we'll give her that much.
Men still
and nobody wants
workplace.
That changed more than the men in the men's movement.
This is kind of a weird reasoning, but okay, let him talk.
We recognize that men and women are interdependent, not competitors. I think that the feminist movement is making a big mistake by teaching that because women have problems, therefore men have advantages. The fact that you earn 59% of what I earn is not my advantage. It means that if I meet you, I become your provider object just as much as you become my sex object. You look to me to make up the other 41% that you're not earning, which then limits my potential as a person.
Okay.
So and then it limits my relationship with my children because I'm the one who gets sent out to work because I can earn the money more efficiently than you, and I'm denied the opportunity to raise my children.
But the women in the workplace, the numbers are enormous, and 70% of them are there because they have to be. And then once they're there, bringing home the second income, they're stuck. They're there.
Well, but we're working.
Yes, exactly. Yes, indeed. That's what the fembots wanted, right?
Very hard. What I'm saying is that the men's movement is supporting the women's right to make more money. We insist that women make more money. Even if you don't want to make more money, we insist you make more money.
Well, you got to choose better paying professions then, I guess. Oh, I know.
So there's not that kind of threat.
What corporation do you run
The problem between the men's movement and the women's movement is that the women's movement is opposing equality for men, not that we're opposing equality for women.
I disagree. I talked to an awful lot of feminists, and maybe early on that was true, but I think women that really are feminists are coming around to human rights and to...
If we could just go back in time, huh? We could sit there and say, yeah, by the way, none of that worked the way you think it was going to work.
Organizations
Carol, you're shaking your head.
Lobbying viciously against joint custody.
What are you?
Which
Okay.
is necessary.
Yep.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Not. Women will never achieve equality in the job market until the burden of childcare is spread evenly between men and women.
But at one point, now
or between them and the government. They want free childcare, of course, or I should say them and the rest of the country.
Let's get into childcare because at one point it was the man left. And
that's a stereotype.
That's bullshit, is what it is. No, that's an old story about the carnival barkers come to town and they impregnate the girls, all that shit. Even in 1982. You could not get out of paying child support unless you literally disappeared from the face of the earth, people. Come on now. I mean, we've had Social Security cards for how long? 100 years, going on 100 years. And you have to have one of those in order to work. So as soon as you pull that thing out, they know where you are. So stop.
Oh, but it's only recently that
the man gets kicked out.
Men are now interested in being a father. Men are now coming around
but
to
it's
this.
only recently that women wanted to become truck drivers and doctors. When I graduated from...
I think we always wanted it. We just couldn't.
And that's why you're a TV anchor person. Well, I guess you could have in 1982 if you wanted to drive a truck. Trust me, there were plenty of companies that went out of their way to get more women into those jobs. The women didn't want them.
Well, that's part of it. That's part of it. When I graduated from high school.
I mean, when I went to, what year was it? 82, 83? In my class for electronics, I think there was one female out of a class of about 30. So there's nothing holding them back then. And they just didn't choose it. And there were no male students over in the nursing department. I know.
in
Evil
a very
men.
upwardly mobile, achievement-oriented community, there was only one girl out of the 400 in the class that wanted to become a doctor because they had 3 barriers to overcome. If they wanted to go into health, they never saw any girls becoming doctors. They saw girls becoming nurses. So it didn't.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I've heard I've heard this discussion. If we don't have a role model, okay. But when it comes to boys without fathers in the home, that's different. That's different, isn't it? Yeah. Huh. Kind of want to have the cake and eat it too at the same time. Now, here's the deal. To become a medical doctor, how long is it? 8 years in residency, and there's training, and there's just a ton of money. You got to be into biology and chemistry and all that stuff. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why male, female, whatever, if you want to be a doctor, go be a doctor. The problem is it's a lot of damn work, right? In 1982, when I graduated high school, a lot of the women went to get their MRS degree. They went to college to find a husband, and that's the way it was. You know, they go have a little fun, and then they meet their man of their dreams, and they move back to the farm. It's the way it worked. So they weren't necessarily interested in having a career, at least where I was, a small town. They just wanted to have a little fun and then land a husband who was becoming a doctor, that kind of
Occur to most of them.
Yeah.
If it occurred to them, they were told that they didn't have the innate ability. You're irrational. You don't have the stamina you need to be a doctor.
Obviously.
If it occurred to them and they knew they had the ability, they were told they wouldn't have the opportunity. You're not going to get into medical school. You're not.
I don't agree with that at all. I think this guy's pulling shit out of the air. Nonsense. Not in 1982. Are you kidding me? Maybe 1972 or 1962, not 82. That just wasn't even, no. There was no people saying you're too stupid because you're a girl. Like, get out of here. That's bullshit.
To be hired by a hospital.
And I was there, people. I was there.
Carol and
So
Stephen,
those
do you wonder
3
why we
barriers.
invited you here?
Oh, I think Fred's putting it beautifully.
No,
I think your problem, at least the way you're addressing the issue, is that you're falling into the polarization, the polarity, the sense that men and women are adversaries, and one is in this corner, one is in that corner. It is reflected in a lot of the issues that are being addressed. The idea of somehow it is man's fault that a woman is making 57 cents less, and that there is no man or no person who wants to rectify that. You're taking an issue between male and female, and because you're casting it in what I described before as immutable differences, sex, it's by definition an adversary situation. That doesn't have to be the case. Unfortunately, that's so built into the social structure, and that's where I see it in the court system, that it's just another burden to overcome.
Well, I think there's an equalization we have to reach. I don't mean to sound polarized. I'm not backing off here. It's just that, wait a minute, we're still not finished with our fight. Now you bring men's rights to the forefront. What's it going to do to...
Because I think it's a necessary topic.
Excuse me. They weren't finished with their fight. 1982. What was left to fight for? Well, let me tell you what was left to fight for. In the early 1990s, this like 91, the rate of grapefruit was at its highest level ever. You might not have known that. Yeah, there were over a million per year. And there was a big push to get, women's safety. And I know on campuses, like college campuses, they put extra security, and they'd have, men that would walk the women home if they were afraid or whatever. And that was cool. Yeah, it was great. And that rate has gone down substantially since the early 1990s. But yeah, that certainly was a thing. Domestic violence, I'm sure, was a thing. But I mean, when it came to the rights, women kind of had it already in 1982. So
You've hit a backlash at this point. At least in this Commonwealth, you've hit a backlash. The first illustration that comes to my mind is, some 7 years ago, Massachusetts enacted an abuse prevention statute, which in essence was to deal with family violence in the home between spouses or household members. Most people who utilized it were women, battered women. When it was first enacted, I recall trying to get anybody to enforce it, to take it as more than a joke, was impossible. Police along the line would look at you and, well, no, this is a family spat. I don't want to get into this. It has gotten to the point, I'd say, where fully 50% of the abuse prevention complaints that I have seen in the past year or so have been tools, have been a way to get usually the man out of a house in a divorce proceeding, because everybody knows whoever stays in the house and stays with the kids inevitably gets the house and gets the kids.
But the other 50% are real.
And that's the
So-
danger of it, because you don't know what to take seriously anymore. You start
Yeah, that's a common theme. Bring up the fact that your husband was abusing you. See, he was mean to the kids. Yeah, nothing's changed. 40 years ago, same deal.
crying wolf too often,
Mhm.
and it ameliorates the intent of the whole statute.
What rights are men denied? Stephen, how did it happen with you?
I was married for all of 15 months. There were some difficulties in the marriage. I think it was possible for it to have worked out with more counseling and more time. However, into the divorce court we went.
Yep.
Who
And
filed?
she filed, which is another cute little statistic here. I personally did research at the Barnstable probate courthouse. And of the divorces that I researched, a full 90% of the plaintiffs were the wife. And I'm not sure what the explanation is, but to get back, echoing or rebutting your comment that it's the husband that leaves, it is the wife that files for divorce.
That's correct. Everyone knows that. And he says 90%. But I think it's a well understood statistic these days. I think it's 80% of divorces are filed by women. Why wouldn't they be? What's there to lose? No fault divorce. Thank you, Ronald Reagan. Thank you.
At any rate, as soon as I walked into that divorce court, it was climbing Mount Everest. It was unbelievable. It went on for 5 years. It cost close to $28,000 for a divorce that never should have costed that much or lasted that long.
Well, see, what you just did was what I started out doing, polarization.
And it's because of
isn't
the
always the wife who
it's
files
because
for
of the
divorce.
polarization and the
A lot of men
adversarial
leave after a lot of
process.
years of marriage.
The adversarial process in the probate courts today, at least in Massachusetts. In California, they have a family court or a mediation court.
Back, and I'm going to get a question in. It's the last thing I do.
Look at the hair on these guys, though. Oh, my God. I would say definitely early 80s. I would say 82, 83, somewhere in there. Because look at I had hair like that.
I want you to be specific and talk to me, Fred, about the actual rights that you feel men are being.
Look at the different colored suit, and look at the guy with the vest here. Oh, my God. That was actually true. The vests were kind of a big thing. It's like, oh, God.
denied because there's a lot of women sitting out there saying this is the biggest pile of what I've ever heard. We are being screwed left and right. So sock it to us.
Whoa.
All right.
Are we on
Come on.
television?
I could just give you
Yeah,
a
but that's what a lot of
10-minute
people feel.
monologue.
Everybody feels
Listen.
gypped in
Well,
the
why don't
divorce
you
case.
listen?
So
Okay,
listen.
there are a lot of rights that women just take for granted without understanding what it's like. Celebrate your 18th birthday without handing sovereignty of your body
Yep.
over to the government for the government's use.
That's right.
it's-
1981 is when that started up again. They took it off the board or took it off the law for right after the Vietnam War because everyone's sensitive. It was people were being drafted, men were going and fighting and being drafted and all that stuff. But then they started some shit in Nicaragua, I believe, in 1980, something like that, 1981, and suddenly we had to sign up for draft again. Isn't that lovely?
It's a very fundamental. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Can you imagine? You spoke about women earn 59% of what men. There are a lot of issues that get women very excited. I'll give you one issue that would get women more excited than anything else, and that's if President Reagan said, "I'm going to do two things that you women's organizations seem to be demanding. You want less emphasis on the military? I'm going to end the draft." And you want more available daycare? The draft is the government saying that
Equal
only
Oh, I
men
see. Equal
do not
service.
have the right to say, nobody can force me to carry out a traditional sex role. Women have that right. Nobody can force a woman into being a mother or into working in a daycare center, into spending her time raising children against her will.
Though the
government
society
can't.
pushes women to have children and kind of teaches her she's not
right,
complete unless she does.
pushes men, and that's
that's
a
changing
serious
now.
issue.
Yeah.
The social and economic
Add,
forces.
add this one
But,
too.
but legislation saying you're going to go to jail unless you spend 2 years doing that is something women don't have to deal with.
And the very argument they use negates their point of view. It's like, well, there hasn't been a draft for 40 years. Why are you being a pussy? Well, if there's not been a draft for 70 years or whatever, why are you worried about it? Sign up. There's not going to be any war, right? Society is a veneer. It's like that paneling from 1981. I know Easter Sunday. Yeah, this is pretty intense. Let me get me off of there because we don't need to see me. Snurgum, Worgum. No, it isn't. What? All of society is Munchausen by proxy. Yeah. James, do you have a hamster fro? I did. About that time, I did. I did have a hamster fro. I really did. It was awful.
So that's one example.
All right, go ahead.
So there's one fundamental right that women have.
Mhm.
Another fundamental right is the right to say, I don't care whether a child was conceived or not. I don't want the responsibilities of being a parent at this point.
Look at her face. It's like, what do you mean? That's right. As soon as abortion was made legal nationwide, men had no say, and we still don't.
I don't want to spend the
And we
money.
shouldn't. We shouldn't force women to do whatever they don't want to. But they also should not force men to become parents either. No one's making that noise, are they? No, you evil man. You shouldn't have.
On it. Women have that right. That's what legalized abortion does for women.
Yep.
But after a child is conceived, a man does not have any right to take stock in his own
correct.
personal situation and decide whether or not he wants the responsibility.
Well, let's be specific. What you're saying is that if a woman, apart from what anybody feels about abortion, pro-choice, if a woman says, I want to have an abortion, a man has to say, whatever you want, darling.
Right.
But you're saying a man should have a right to say, I have just as much right to want that child as you do. And so where does he go from there?
No, that's another fundamental right. I didn't get to that one
You're
yet.
mixing examples.
Yeah.
Well, but I want to get to that example because that's something that people don't
all right,
think about,
let-
that a
yeah.
man has a say in a woman's pregnancy.
Now, it's the
No, he doesn't. Not after the conception.
right that a woman has to say, well, I know a child was conceived, but I don't want the responsibilities of being a parent right now. I can't afford it, or I can afford it, but I want to buy a new car instead. I don't want to spend money
Wait
on
a
a child.
minute. Wait a
I
minute.
have a career.
nobody-
Look at her. Ooh, what do you mean?
in
And
at this
judge,
particular
you know.
time of my life. The reasons can be
Or
very
I've been
sound.
raped and I'm the
No.
victim of incest. So hold on.
Boom. Let's go to the corner cases. Let's go to the corner cases. Now, admittedly, 1982, you didn't have the morning after pill. You certainly had birth control and all that other stuff. But yeah, in a case of a criminal activity, if you conceived, you could get your abortion, and it'll remain that way in most states. So
That's
or
blanket
whatever.
generalization.
No, it's a woman has the right to say nobody is going to judge my reasons for not wanting to be
Terminating
a parent right
And a
now.
man in many cases, Fred, has the right to not pay child support.
He
And there are a lot
doesn't-
of
bullshit. She knows she's lying. She has to know she's lying because that's nonsense. Nonsense.
have
Well,
that right.
That's completely
He
untrue.
doesn't have the right, and I'm sure that you want to make
Carol,
sure he
you
doesn't have
address
that
this
right.
then in the
That's
court. So we
completely
geared up
untrue.
to deal with men that don't pay child support?
Not the way we should be. No.
Okay, so there are two sides then.
You are
Yes.
looking at the
Are you
issue though.
familiar with
As,
the Serpico case? Frank,
Well, the movie?
Frank Sir.
It's a
Frank Serpico. Yeah. He was a New York City cop that was, there was a movie, I think it was Al Pacino played Serpico. Good movie. He was a corrupt cop, or he was a good cop and he rooted out the corrupt. I can't remember. Good flick if you haven't seen it.
the same guy, but it got himself
Yeah,
into
okay.
another fine mess.
Oh,
A single woman decided she wanted to become a single mother, tricked him into fathering the child, and then hit him with a paternity
tricked him
suit.
into fathering the child.
Yeah, and there were
I mean, he went to
witnesses.
bed with her.
Yeah, she told him that she was taking birth control pills when in fact she wasn't. And she told people ahead of time that he established in court that she tricked him into it. The
Okay.
judge agreed with that.
Well,
He lost the child support
not good.
case. He's
Not
now
good. Not
paying
clever.
over $900 a month in child support.
Now remember, this is 40 years ago. That is a big, hefty chunk of money. $900 a month. That was a decent salary for like an 18, 19-year-old. That would have been more than decent. I don't even want to tell you what I made. It was a lot less than that for sure.
And Karen DeCrow, who's the former president of the National Organization for Women, supported him as a lawyer. She said, now, wait a second. We women have just worked very hard to make sure that no woman is ever going to be forced into being a parent against her will. You know, how could we now say that only men can be forced into this situation?
Right.
If she wants to be a mother, fine, let her be a mother. But once we legalized abortion, we gave women the sole power to decide whether or not they want to have children. And if you have sole power, you got to take sole responsibility.
We can't have that now, can we? No. blame those evil men that keep running out. They fucking run. Yeah, sure they do. Right.
So it's not. She said it's not fair that he should have to pay child support. She wanted to be.
Isn't that a Liz Phair song? Fucking run. I think it is.
There, let her have the responsibilities.
Yeah.
All the feminist organizations, however, lined up against him, and this is what they said: if Serpico didn't want to be a parent, he should have been sterilized.
Mhm.
Now you you can see that what I'm talking about with paternity suits is the exact equivalent of what women are talking about with legalized abortion.
It's only very recently that putative fathers of illegitimate children, born out of wedlock, who have been determined to be the father of the child in order to pay support, have been given some sort of limited right of visitation or some sort of say in the way the child is being reared. It's been established for a very long time that as long as a person is found to be the father of a child, he's got an obligation to pay support, and he can go to jail.
Stephen, we have 10 seconds. Are you divorced?
Seconds. I am divorced now after 5 years. Yes.
Were there children?
There is one child. He's 7 years old.
Do you
Who has
have-
custody?
She has custody.
Did you want it?
And I fought that for years and years. All I asked for was equal sharing of time with that child.
Do you see him?
And the court said, no, we're not going to have that. We're going to give custody to the mother.
Do you see him? Do you have visitation?
I see him quite often. I mean, more than most fathers do.
But it cost you $28,000
But it cost me
in 5 years.
$28,000, a lot of aggravation on both our parts, and absolutely unnecessarily.
Well, I think that's a sad case. We have to go, but I think it's only fair to invite all of you back and maybe get our viewers involved. So let's set a date for that, okay?
Yeah, chicks had that hairdo too. What was it called? Feathered hair or something? Yeah, long time ago. So there you go, guys. Nothing has changed. It's probably only gotten worse. So let's go back and do another. I was just looking up this men's rights stuff. I was going to do Cassie J because maybe I'll do this chick at the top here. Feminist take on the men's rights movement. All right.
As someone who spent the bulk
See,
of my
I was
political
listening to it already.
is the men's rights movement.
Turn her up a little bit.
But frankly, I've recoiled from doing it for many years, and for good reason, because there are elements of this movement that are frankly gross, misogynistic, and violent. But I've recently taken the time to dig into the issues, and I've come away thinking that there are two sides to the men's rights movement, one valid, one not valid. And I think the issues under the valid side of this movement deserve our attention. So today, I'm going to distinguish between the two sides of the movement first, and then we're going to get down to business on the issues. So what is the men's rights movement?
Okay.
I'm going to read from one of the large advocacy groups within the sector called the Men's Group, and they define it like this. Activists argue that society has become biased and sexist against men. They also argue that men face discrimination from the media, government, and Supreme Court for being male. Men's rights groups fight against custody laws that favor mothers over fathers, violence.
No. Come on now. Come on, dear. No, these men's rights groups are for shared custody, joint custody, not against women getting custody. They just want to be able to spend time with their children. Because as far as I know, the default is the mother gets the custody, right? It's not 50-50. And feminists, last time I checked, actively fighting against such a thing. Why would that be?
Against men.
I thought it was for the good of the children. Isn't that weird? Think of the children.
False rape allegations, disproportionate male prison sentencing, and conscription. For instance, whenever a female is overlooked over a role in the office, the company is deemed as discriminatory.
Yeah.
However, when a male colleague loses a position to a female worker, it is deemed as normal.
Yep. Yes. White men need not apply.
These are some of the inequalities men's rights groups strive to address. Those are their words.
Yeah.
Now, on its face, I'd say there's a lot in that statement we're going to agree about.
Okay.
I consider myself a feminist, and that means I advocate for women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes.
Okay. So which rights don't you have? Just curious. What are you fighting for as a feminist, dear? What's her name? Hannah? Hannah, what right are you fighting for? Curious.
True feminism is the belief that all people...
Oh, true. She almost slipped one past the goalie there. The no true Scots.
On the basis of the equality of the sexes. True feminism is the belief that all people should have equal rights, equal opportunity, and equal command of their own destiny.
Sure. Yeah. Except that's not what feminism is about. You know it, dear. Come on.
But just like the men's rights movement has two sides to it, one vile and one valid.
One vile. There's a vile side to the men's rights movement. Did you know that? She must be talking about pickup artists.
I'd argue so does the feminist movement.
Oh,
there is a
really?
side to the feminist movement that truly does hate men and that sees them as inferior or wants them to have fewer rights. I disavow those people just as I disavow the components of the men's rights movement who feel similarly towards women.
Okay, yeah. I would agree. Yeah.
And let's address that side of their movement briefly.
Okay, let's.
There are increasingly vocal groups of men in society who simply hate women.
Probably, yeah.
They hate the gains feminism has made. They can't compete with women on an equal playing field. And they seek to diminish the rights of women.
Well, for one thing, the playing field isn't equal. See, when you get affirmative action, you get special scholarships because you're a chick, etc. That's not an equal playing field. See, it's kind of stacked in your favor. You see what I'm saying? Do ya?
So that they can feel better about their puny existence.
Right.
These elements include groups like incels, components of the alt-right and white nationalists, trads who want to force their social conservatism on others, the pickup artist community, and the men going their own way movement.
She said she tried to sneak one in there as well. Did you hear? Part of the men's rights movement is the white nationalists. The alt-right. See, the Nazis infiltrating men's rights groups.
Some people within these groups will go so far as to say that rape should be legal.
Okay. But no one in their right mind advocates for that to be legal. That's ridiculous. Roosh V wrote a post when Rooshi, he's a pickup artist, or he used to be. I don't know what the hell he is now. He wrote to say that if it were legal, maybe women would pay more attention to where they went. That's what he was making an interesting point, but he didn't make it very well. And so now all men's rights advocates and groups believe that the R word should be legal. That is bullshit. As a matter of fact, I believe it should be one of the more harshly punished crimes. That's what I think. Not legal, certainly not.
They downplay domestic violence. They harass women online.
No. You may interpret it as downplay, dear. What men's rights activists, the last time I checked, it's been a while, but I watched this stuff a little bit. They're saying that it's not just a female thing, that men too are abused by their wives in various ways, psychologically, physically, etc., and so on like that. So they're not trying to downplay domestic violence. They're trying to say, hey, wait a minute. It's not just a female thing. It's both men and women. Okay.
And they actually skew love and relationships in retaliation against feminism, which I think is really funny. Like, oh no, you can't date us. You can't date a misogynist. Like, take back our rights so we can have them. Like, we're good on you guys too. I joke, whatever. But these are hate groups that do not.
No, they're not. So, if we say feminism is a women's rights organization, are they too a hate group? Hannah, come on now. Come on.
Believe in equality, and they're made up of vile people.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there may be some Nazis or something are vile people and hate groups, yes. But men advocating for men's rights is not a hate group. But go ahead and think whatever you want.
It's a shame that they've been able to co-opt the men's rights movement to an extent. But as a libertarian, I know the feeling. Our movement is no stranger to vile people trying to co-opt it and corrupt our message.
Vile people, yeah. Pickup artists and that kind of shit, right?
So throughout this episode...
But pickup artists aren't men's rights activists. Pickup artists just want to get laid. See?
It is important that we distinguish between some of the very real concerns men face in our society and the creepy underbelly of unsuccessful men who just hate women.
Yeah, again. Okay. Sure.
Now, back to the valid side of the men's rights movement.
Okay.
To reiterate, these are their top concerns.
All right.
Custody laws that favor mothers over fathers, violence against men, false accusations, over-incarceration, conscription, and mental health. There's a lot to dig into here.
There is.
But first, for those of you who may be skeptical, let's examine the state of things in our society.
Let's. Yeah.
I know as a woman, it can be hard to feel sympathy for men a lot of the time.
Okay. Well, why is that?
I'm just keeping it real. As a woman, it often feels like there is so much we have to overcome to this day.
Really? In 2022? You have so much you need to overcome. I mean, I swear to God, guys, how can you say it's anything other than just brainwashing? What are you talking about? What do you have to overcome because you're a female in 2022 in the Western world? What?
And if you're like me, a lot of the talking points we hear from the men's rights movement can sound like an excuse for sexism or thinly veiled desires to return to societal structures that oppressed women.
Well. Some men advocate for more traditional things, husband, wife, kids, all that. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
But when you step back and take a look around, it actually becomes pretty clear that while women may still have a lot to overcome,
there she goes again. Like what? Give us an example of what you have to overcome as a poor, oppressed woman in the United States in current year. What exactly are these things you must do because you're a woman? Are we ever going to hear that? No.
Men really aren't doing well in our society lately. In fact, a new bit of research found that in 91 of the 134 countries evaluated, women face fewer net disadvantages than men based on metrics that included literacy, primary and secondary school enrollment, years one could expect a healthy lifestyle, and life satisfaction. Women are now more likely to go to college, more likely to graduate college, and more likely to obtain a graduate degree. Men are 3.88 times more likely to die by suicide than women. They have higher rates of substance abuse. They are substantially more likely to have a dangerous job and to die on the job. Their average life expectancy is 5 years less than women. 19% of men are classified as having a gaming addiction. Porn addictions are up. 34% of men are overweight. The list could go on, but you get the picture.
We do. At least you're somewhat aware of the facts, yes.
As a whole, there are a lot of men facing very serious issues in our society right now.
Yet all men are privileged, right? Right.
And when they talk about them, they're often met with derision.
And
I have a lot of men in my life that I love. I've been very fortunate to be surrounded by upstanding men of character in my family, from my dad to my brothers to cousins and uncles.
These days, you are fortunate to have your dad in your life. Yeah.
I have reaped the benefits of always having strong men backing me up. I care about these issues because I care about them. And I think the family is a microcosm for society. I look at my family and my own life.
And why do you think the fembots set out to destroy the family? I'm just saying. I know.
And I can't help but think what our society might look like if it were filled with men like those in my family.
It probably is.
And while there are always elements of self-responsibility that must be emphasized when it comes to these matters, anyone who cares about liberty should care deeply if the state is putting policies into place that hurt people.
Or not removing policies that hurt people. Yeah.
Especially when those policies disproportionately hurt one group of people more than others.
Yeah. Now we're talking. Now we're cooking with gas, baby.
Additionally, it's important that as libertarians, we keep something in mind. When we discuss societal problems,
libertarians, they just want to smoke dope. Come on.
We do not have to call for state solutions, but that doesn't mean we should just ignore these problems or have no solutions for them at all.
Okay. So why isn't anyone doing something about it? Just curious.
What kind of ideology would that be?
Well, I mean, we could talk about the prostate cancer too. Kills more men, but gets what? 1/10 of the funding is breast cancer.
Not a very good one, and certainly not one that would attract many people. Life is hard, get a helmet. That's a catchphrase. It isn't a political ideology. If we want people to be won to our way of thinking, which usually does not involve traditional government solutions, we need to be able to show that there are better free market solutions to these problems.
The free market solutions do not exist to remove some of the burdens on men with respect to child care, custody, forced parenting. That's all government shit. Of course, there's free will involved. You're having X with the chick, but yeah.
Anything less than that is a lazy ideology and what I like to call bad capitalism. You should care about people when they're hurting. You should especially care when the government is hurting people in your name and with your resources. And you should also recognize that hurt people hurt people. The growth of the alt-right and some of these hate groups within the men's rights movement is evident.
And some of these hate groups, right, in the men's rights. Oh my God. I think she's got a bit of bias.
That's the fact that single white men are the most likely demographic to be a mass murderer.
You know why perhaps you didn't hear about the mass murder that just happened? Any idea? Because it wasn't a white guy.
Shows that. The fact that men make up the majority of violent criminals and victims shows that. So if we want to actually stop misogyny and sexism and the growth of the alt-right and other fringe groups that are preying on hurting disaffected people, the best thing we can do is start to show up and show sympathy and hopefully even solutions for their problems.
So then vote the right people in. But it doesn't matter. It's all a uniparty at this point. It doesn't make any difference. Whoever the politicians interpret it as screaming louder gets the attention.
So let's break down some of the top issues the men's rights movement is trying to elevate.
Okay.
For time's sake, we're going to briefly go over some and then really dig into others.
Okay.
First, they elevate the problems with violence against men and how overlooked this is in our system.
Yeah, there's a lot of violence. Yeah.
As someone who spent the bulk of my political career working in criminal justice reform, let me just say, yup. Men make up almost 80% of all murders worldwide. In the US, their homicide rate is almost 10 times that of females.
Yeah.
They're also more likely to be victims.
And yet, where does the attention go? Where does the attention go when someone is murdered? If it's a chick, gets people's bells ringing. You know what I'm saying?
Of other crimes too, like drug-related crimes and gang-related crimes. And though they experience far lower rates of violence for things like domestic abuse and rape, they do experience that kind of violence too. And
if you don't count prison, yes, it's less. If you count prison, not so much.
It is worth mentioning here that while all rapes and incidents of domestic abuse are severely underreported,
how would you know that? How would you know if it's not reported? Now, who is perpetuating some kind of culture if a woman doesn't call the police when these things happen? To let the guy go and do it again? Yeah.
And for good reason, because cops don't do anything about them.
The cops don't do anything about rape. Okay.
It's likely social stigmas make men even less likely to report these incidents to police.
The cops can only arrest people. They're doing their job. If this stuff is not being prosecuted, it's not the cops' fault. It's the judicial system.
Now, in response to these crime statistics, many will point out that men are also far more likely to be perpetrators of violence than women, leading to their involvement in more violence against them.
Probably.
And this isn't incorrect. Men commit 90+% of murders based on one global study, and intimate partner violence remains the biggest health threat to women. But I want to reiterate something I said earlier, which is that hurt people hurt people. From my years in criminal justice reform, if I could impart one piece of knowledge to people about violence, it would be this. The dichotomy that you have in your mind of victim versus perpetrator rarely exist. They are almost always one and the same because violence is cyclical in nature. Most people are first victims of violence many times over before they too themselves become violent. And then they are met with more violence from our system. And no one is ever safer for it. If we want to get serious about violence, we have to get serious about trauma interventions and violence disruptions, programs that largely take place outside of policing and do the real work of stopping cycles of violence.
Okay.
These are serious criminal justice reforms that we should all be supporting. And the best thing about them is that they're local. They're often less costly than our bloated policing system, and they take a more limited government approach to crime. That's the policy change that needs to take place here. But there's also a society.
Anything here that might lead to young men not having role models, to anything like that? No.
Societal change that needs to take place too. And that's that we need to stop diminishing violence against men.
Because we can't blame women for anything, right? Right?
It is not okay for your partner to harm you.
No.
Physically, verbally, or emotionally.
Okay.
Abuse is abuse. And men who find themselves on the receiving end of it should get the same sympathy and support from their community as women do.
Yeah, they don't, though. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. You know, that doesn't happen. Go look up a men's shelter in any big city. Violent shelter doesn't exist.
Which is actually not even saying that much. Our society needs to be better on this all around. Stop asking people why they didn't leave and instead ask how you can help. Stop laughing at the antics of abusers and instead intervene and speak up. Let them know others are watching them and won't excuse their behavior. Next, the movement flags 2 other issues that also fall under the criminal justice system.
Okay.
And those are false accusations and over-incarceration, which I
Let's talk about false accusations.
think are somewhat intertwined if you think about it. The U.S. has a massive over-incarceration problem driven by wrongful convictions, prosecutions pushing everyone into plea deals, which I covered in the prosecutor episode, and a whole litany of things being made into crimes by our lawmakers that are victimless, nonviolent offenses no one should be in jail over.
So we're talking about drugs, probably?
An atrocious, disgusting, inhumane system, and it makes a complete mockery of the principles we were founded upon. The American criminal justice system holds almost 2.3 million people in 1,833 state prisons, 110 federal prisons, 1,772 juvenile correctional facilities, 3,134 local jails, 218 immigration detention facilities, and 80 Indian County jails, as well as military prisons, civil commitment centers, state psychiatric hospitals, and prisons in the U.S. territories.
Yeah, and most of those are men. Yeah, right.
USA. In fact, despite making up close to 5% of the global population, the U.S. has more than 20% of the world's prison population. And since 1970, our incarcerated population has increased by 500%. Under this system, men are over 8 times more likely than women to be incarcerated in prison at least once during their lifetime.
Okay.
A man has a 9% chance in his lifetime of going to prison, while a woman has a 1.1% chance.
And why is that? Why? Is she going to address that?
Now, some of that is correlation given the violence rates among men we discussed above.
Well, I mean, what are you supposed to do with violent people? They commit crimes. You got to put them in jail, right? What about rapists? You want those guys in jail, right? So what's the solution? Oh, to make drugs legal. Oh, okay.
But certainly, they are also more likely to go to jail or prison for things no one should be locked up for.
Drugs.
They are also more likely to be victims of wrongful convictions, which is a pervasive problem in our system.
Okay.
We have discovered over 2,500 wrongful convictions in recent years, and that's just the people who've been able to get the external resources they need to plead their case.
All right.
Of those, men are far more likely to be wrongfully convicted, and Black men in particular are the most impacted, with a rate that is 7 times higher than that of white people wrongfully convicted. But Hannah, there's no such thing as systemic racism.
I haven't really looked into that, but yeah, it seems there are a lot more Black guys going to jail. I'll agree with that.
Now, here's where I need to make a major point. While men are more likely to be incarcerated and more likely to be wrongfully incarcerated, it is not because so many women are just out here lying on them in these streets. This part of the men's rights movement is a false narrative that needs to be debunked and put to bed.
No. Notice how carefully she's going to go around this one. Well, there's not women in the street accusing men of it. We're not talking about that, dumbass. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the Me Too. Remember that? How many people were convicted in the Me Too tidal wave? One.
Immediately.
How many men lost their jobs because some woman accused them of something? Thousands.
More than half of all wrongful convictions are due to government misconduct.
Oh,
Shocker.
Okay.
That would include things like police misconduct, prosecutorial misconduct, judicial misconduct, corruption in the labs, and general mistakes. The misapplication of forensic science is responsible for 45% of wrongful convictions. False eyewitness identification in 70% of wrongful convictions. False confessions in 25% of cases. Jailhouse informants in 19% of cases. You get the picture. There is a very seedy part of the men's rights movement that wants to undermine the very real and persistent threat of rape, abuse, and murder that men pose towards women.
Okay.
I firmly believe most of the men in that camp are abusers themselves because
oh my God. Oh, I got to hear that again. What the hell is she talking about here?
I firmly believe most of the men in that camp are abusers themselves because trying to gaslight and diminish the treatment of others is the #1 rule in the abuser's playbook.
No. See, you're obviously misinterpreting what's going on here. Now, let's say there's a consensual encounter between a man and a woman. Everybody says, everybody agrees, we want to bump uglies. They go ahead and do it. The next day, she could go to the Title IX office on her campus and have him kicked off with no proof, no witnesses, nothing. Now, if you don't think that's a problem, dear, I don't know what to tell you. No, it's not just women walking down the street and pointing at guys and saying this. Title IX, extrajudicial, outside the criminal system. You dumbass. Let's see if she can redeem herself. I kind of doubt it.
Run, do not walk from anyone in that camp. The truth is...
Well, why don't you point out a few people in that camp, dear? Because I'm not familiar with these guys. I don't know who you're talking about.
Most rapes do not get reported at all.
Bullshit. And if that is the case, dear, it is women themselves who are perpetuating the rape culture. Because if you don't report it to police, you can't get the guy in prison. See what I'm saying? He's free to do it again. So maybe you ought to tell your fellow females, if this bad thing happens to you, call the fucking police. Yeah?
Why? For a number of reasons.
Okay.
One, cops aren't going to do crap about it. We have thousands of untested rape kits they're literally running out the clock on.
I think this is just getting worse. Okay. Thousands of untested kits. Many of those are not tested because the charges were withdrawn or they convicted the dude in some other way or what happened. Why would you go through the test? Why would you test them if they drop the charges? What would be the freaking point? Maybe she recanted. She said, no, it wasn't him. It was somebody else. And you're saying most of these things are not reported. If they're not reported, how can they get a rape kit done? Just wondering. And the police can't stop what happens in between with two people in a bedroom. God almighty. I'm sorry. Let's go back. Mr. Bliskin's here.
2, given the fact they're unlikely to even get a rape kit tested, the downsides to reporting rape and abuse far outweigh any positives. And
well, let's see here. Sorry.
Tested, the downsides to reporting rape and abuse far outweigh any positives.
The downsides far outweigh the positives, like getting a rapist off the street. I would say that's a pretty big positive. Don't you think?
Unless we're talking about a man with extreme amounts of fame, money, or power, which is not most of you, women have virtually no incentive to lie or falsely report and just about every reason to stay mum.
Have you ever heard of Title IX? Have you heard of it? There's no consequence for her. She can report anything she wants. She doesn't get kicked out. What's the matter with you? Why are you ignoring the freaking elephant in the room, dear? Why is that? You're talking about law enforcement. Well, here's the deal. It's very, very, very hard to prove rape if there's only two people in the fucking room. It's going to be his word against hers. So yeah, it's very difficult to prosecute because there's no witnesses normally. But along comes Title IX, no witnesses required. Just point a finger and he's out. Donald Trump was trying to address that to make it a little more fair. As soon as Biden came to office, he ripped it up and went back to the old way. Wonder why.
In fact, some studies show as many as 60% of
I'll tell you why. The consequence-free life guaranteed to women by the government. That's why.
Sexual assaults are not reported.
All right. I missed
When it comes to as many as 60% of sexual assaults are not reported.
Right.
When it comes to the rates of false accusations, this kind of...
Now, notice what she said, though. She's probably correct. Listen to what she
Say
said.
mom. In fact, some studies show as many as 60% of sexual assaults are not reported.
What did she say? What has the media been trying to make you think when you hear that statistic right there? 60% of sexual assaults are not reported. You're supposed to think 60% of rape is not reported, aren't you? A sexual assault can be an unwanted touching, an unwanted kiss, a grope in the butt, also sexual assault. See, look at the games they play. Yeah, more than likely, you're not going to call the police if some guy grabs you in the ass in a bar.
When it comes to the rates of false accusations, this kind of thing is admittedly hard to track.
Here we go. 1 to 5%, right?
Most wrongful convictions are not discovered because the people at the receiving end simply don't have the resources to prove their innocence. And barring exculpatory evidence, we can't say for sure how many people are in prison due to false accusations.
You mean the exculpatory evidence that is now forbidden in Canada, such as text messages, such as email, such as stuff like that? That kind of evidence?
But estimates show over the past 20 years that only 2 to 10% of rape allegations prove to be false.
Yep. Boom.
Again, you have to look at the incentive structure here.
Well, before we look at your incentive structure, dear, okay, they say 2 to 10% of rapes are false or something like that. Okay. Let's just say then there's got to be some explanation why 90% of men accused of rape are not convicted. Why is that? Seems odd, doesn't it?
Women can lose their jobs for coming forward about an assault. And that
bullshit. Fucking bullshit. What the hell are you talking about?
I have to look at the incentive structure here. Women can lose their jobs for coming forward about an assault.
So if you're assaulted, you could lose your job. In what fucking universe are you talking about?
And that can result in them never being hired in their industry again.
What? Do you guys even have an idea what this person is talking about now? I think she's out in orbit here. I don't know what the hell she's talking about.
They incur the wrath of the abuser when they come forward, making coming forward a very dangerous time for them.
So you're talking about a woman, for example, who was attacked at work. And if she calls the police, she could lose her job. Is that what you're trying to make us believe, dear? Okay.
They have to relive the trauma publicly over and over.
God.
It is no walk in the park. And again, for what? Police do not even test the rape kits.
It's not the police. It's not the police testing rape kits. Police arrest people. It's up to the other parts of the judicial system to deal with that. Do you not understand? You said you were in criminal justice reform. Don't you fucking know how it works? You think the police are testing rape kits? God almighty.
If you're a celebrity or a politician, I get this fear of being a real threat for you. Oh. Otherwise, I remain entirely unconvinced.
What about the college students kicked off campus by Title IX? What about those guys? They're not rich and famous. What do you think? No, we're not even going to talk about that, right? Am I on the right path, Hannah?
I think this is one point that the men's rights movement way overblows, and they do it to the extreme of negating real abuse against women.
Do you remember Me Too? Do you? Wasn't that long ago, Hannah. You're not that old. You remember. Tell me about the Dear Colleague letter, Obama administration, Title IX. No, nothing about that. Okay.
That is not the behavior of a quality man. On to another point they bring up, which is conscription. I'll keep this one simple. Yes. Throughout most of our history, only men have been eligible for the draft, and it's wrong.
Eligible? I suppose that's one way to phrase it, yes.
The draft is wrong. Conscription is immoral. No one should be forced to go fight, kill other innocent people, lose their limbs, risk their lives, and potentially lose their sanity to fight in the banal, vile wars our governments create.
Okay, good. So what is feminism doing about having that removed? Zero. Until the idea was floated that women would also have to sign up. Then we got to get rid of the draft, right?
The draft should be abolished. This is a no-brainer. No one should be subjected to it ever, ever, ever.
Mhm.
But the fact that they've done it to men and not to women is a clear violation of the 14th Amendment's equal application of the law.
No shit. Wow.
On to mental health. You guys know I'm a huge mental health advocate, so this is one I care deeply about.
Okay.
I volunteered at NAMI early on in my career and first got involved in criminal justice reform working on these issues.
Mhm.
I already discussed many of the sad statistics around men's mental health earlier in the show, so I won't reiterate, but I do think there's a lot to be concerned with here.
Okay.
Not only are men more likely to die of suicide or deaths of despair, they're also more likely to be victims of the loneliness epidemic. Thomas Joyner, in his book Lonely at the Top,
and homeless, by the way,
says that men have made a Dorian Gray-like trait of success in the external world for a deep sense of loneliness, emptiness, and disconnection. And what he means by that is that boys tend to start out feeling just as connected in their close friendships as girls do, but then they neglect their personal relationships to pursue external success. When men lose the social structures provided in high school and college, they often find themselves adrift, unsure how to establish or maintain close relationships with other men or women. And increasingly, we see that adult men in our society have no support system. And that not only hurts them, it hurts their partners too, who are then left to do the emotional labor of forging social interactions for their husband.
Oh God, please. Standard feminist tactic. See, we need to address this because it affects women, right? Standard stuff.
Not only that, but women tend to rely on a really wide community for support. We seek out therapists. We have large social groups, seek out self-help and mentors and career advisors. And men, on the other hand, rely on their wives to provide all of that. Which creates significant strain on relationships and leaves women feeling like they're dealing with emotional gold diggers. No one person can do all of that work for you. And I don't really think there is a governmental solution here, but there certainly is a societal one. We need to stop stigmatizing men seeking mental health treatment. It should be treated as routine.
Who stigmatizes men for getting a mental health treatment? Who is doing this? I would like to know. Who are these people?
You go see your regular doctor every year for a checkup. At the bare minimum, you should be seeking out a mental health checkup. We also need to stop telling men that this is just the way it is, to suck it up, to keep their heads down and provide. And this is an area where I think
that is the way it is.
The good feminists and the good men's rights advocates could come together. Because we also believe that the old school 1950s societal system hurt women and men.
Yeah, sure did.
And studies back that up.
Life sucked.
Men who identify with an old school masculine ideology are worse off. They're less likely to seek psychological help, more likely to feel isolated. Toxic masculinity hurts everyone, but it especially hurts men.
You do realize, Hannah, that men talk to other men about these things, right? You do understand that. It's like therapy, Saturday morning beer session, working on a car, talk about shit. You know why that is, Hannah? You know why? Because most of our troubles have to do with our girls, women. Our wives. Get it? Get it?
Men are entitled to emotion and feelings, to have rich and complex inner lives. They too need community and support and to not always have to be the strong one. I really hate the cultural forces that continue to try to push men into these sad, boxed-in lives.
God, I don't. Should we finish this one off, guys? I don't know. I'm just getting tired of this nonsense. This is it's the same old shit, just repackaged. It's men, you need to live in your feelings. Women are better at playing victims. Yep. Well, men don't really have a choice. Let's be honest, right? We are tax slaves. We have to go work. There's no option for men. Women have the option. They had more options before they get crazy with their fembots. Shark Denture says, please stop. I need ear bleach. Yeah. Primo Living BC says, it was a good day when I came to terms with the fact that crazy usually comes. Yeah, they're usually redheads. I know. And I know some redheads. All right. Maybe we'll dig up one more just for the hell of it. I'm not drinking tonight, so I'm in good shape here. No booze. Although I wish I had some, but what are you going to do? Feminists versus men's rights, Jubilee, feminism save men. I've already done this one. He's an interesting guy. Used to be a gay prawn star, and now he's a men's rights activist. You guys seen that one yet? It's pretty good. There's Cassie J. Oh, God. Majority Report. Oh, God, please. No, I just did. There's one sniveling puke on there. It's just, oh, my God, just drives me right up the wall. Let's see. Top 21 TikTok men not simping. 21 Studios. Maybe we'll do that one. What do you guys want to do? You want to do that one? Let's see. There was one down here somewhere. Oh, here's 5 for 5 or whatever. Okay. We'll do 21 Studios. Let's see. We'll do that one. We'll have a little funsies. If I can find it. Where was it? There we go. All right. We'll do that one.
Need prescription eyewear fast?
All right.
Shop hundreds of affordable styles with 2-day delivery at iBuyDirect.com.
That's great.
Destiny is calling.
There you go.
And our names are on her lips.
Our names are on our lips. An Ubisoft original. All right. Is that a game?
This is your sign to never offer to help a woman carry things. I'm empowering her to be strong and independent. She should be thanking me.
Exactly.
I met my boyfriend's adult children yesterday. It was terrible. Garrett and Trinity absolutely sucked. 2 waspy brats with nothing better to do than give me the side eye.
Okay.
I may have gotten aggressively drunk and made a cheeky little TikTok about the situation, as I should have. My boyfriend, however, saw the TikTok and dumped me because I was cyberbullying his kids when they were real life bullying me. Naturally, I'm on my way to get drinks with his boss. He makes way more and has a terrible relationship with his kids. So I have a really good feeling about this one. Do I tell my ex or do I wait in like a month or two when a framed picture of me ends up on his boss's desk? Which would rock his world more TikTok.
God. All right.
Yeah. What did you do last night?
Trying to kiss my guy friends.
Okay. I mean, you imagine where that mouth has been, guys. Oh my God.
No. Hey, I'm calling.
What the hell is this? All right.
Hey. I just wanted to call and say that I think you're really cute. And I think that I have feelings for you.
Okay.
Do you feel the same way?
Nah, but I mean, I'm into one of your friends, so if you want to play on my word for me, it'd be great.
What friend?
Katie.
Oh my God.
Went on this date. It was like a FaceTime date the other night with this guy, and it was going okay at first. It was a little bit.
A FaceTime date? What the hell kind of a date is that?
Awkward, but it was fine. Pretty soon into the date, he asked me what my type was. And I said, well, I don't really have a type.
What's your type? Okay, sorry. Type.
All my exes are pretty different, which is true. And then I asked him what his type was. He looked me straight in the eyes and said to me,
Yes. Yes.
Well, normally I go for really strong, motivated, and independent women, but they're all pretty heartless. So I'm trying something different.
That's ice cold, man. That's cold.
Nick, excuse me, bitch.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Potty mouth.
Gentlemen,
yes.
If a chick breaks up with you, the correct response, no matter what the situation is, doesn't matter what the details are, doesn't matter if you f***ed up or she f***ed up or nobody f***ed up, the correct response is always, okay.
Yep.
That's it. You can be angry, you can be upset, you can be hurt, you can be all kinds of emotions, but the response that you give to a chick when she breaks up with you is okay. Let me explain to you why.
Well, mainly because you're a Chad, so you got them lined up. Yeah.
So in sales and negotiation psychology,
yes,
the person who is capable of walking away from the deal
has the power,
holds the most power.
Yep.
That's number one.
That's right.
Number two.
And the one who cares more in the relationship is the one who's hurt, obviously, right?
Is know your worth.
All right.
So there's nothing more unattractive than breaking up with somebody and then them begging to have you back. The worst thing you can do during a breakup if someone is leaving you is be like, oh my God, please don't leave me. I miss you so much. You're the love of my life. I'll never live without you. That shows that you have very little value. And subconsciously, they will pick up on that and it will just make them not want to be with you more. It will actually reaffirm their decision. So know your worth, know your value. And if somebody doesn't want to be with you, thank them for not wasting any more of your time so that you can go spend your time doing what you want to do or developing something with somebody else. So that's number two. And the third and final reason why the correct response is always okay is
you could go to Grainger.com
Yes,
to find
you
what
could.
you need to get the job done.
Go to Grainger.
Grainger, supplies and solutions for every industry.
Okay.
Hey.
What in the world? Oh, God.
a man who has control of his emotions is extremely attractive. So, two scenarios. Chick breaks up with you and you break composure and lose frame and start doing emotional shit. Not going to be very attractive. Opposite scenario. Chick breaks up with you and you say, you remove yourself for a few days, collect yourself, have a conversation with her and say, hey, I really like you. I really want to make this work, but I do not want to be with somebody who does not value me. And you've just told me that you don't. I want somebody in my life that does value me. So I think this is the correct move, is to move on from each other. That will show her that you have self-respect, you have value, you know what you're doing in life. And if she doesn't want to be with you, she can get off the train, because your life should be a freight train. Hopefully that helps you guys. Know your worth, know your value. Don't let people in your life that don't value you, because it will lower yours. And always
the thing is, though, Chad, you're a good-looking dude, right? You got chicks lined up. You got guys that maybe get a date a year or something, and they get fees about these women. I know it's easier for you, dude, because you're a big, tall stud.
Have a purpose, always have a drive, be a freight train in life.
Then again, those guys ain't gonna get no dates anyway, I suppose. Yeah, probably.
You.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think we're ready. Can we have the oysters to start as a starter?
One portion?
Yeah, just one portion. How many is it? 6. Oh yeah, that's fine.
I don't know myself. I don't know myself. I don't know myself. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I?
Oh, wah.
I don't know if your girlfriend's wifey material part 1. Bro, she can cook. Like, I'm not talking about like meals you throw in the microwave for like 2 minutes or throw in the oven for like 15. I ain't talking about that, bro. I'm talking about from scratch. She cooking from scratch just for you every night.
Looks pretty good.
Bro, if you don't cuff her, I'm going to cuff her, bro.
Text your lady thanks for the food and see her reaction.
The food, man. What are you talking about? Better be a dumbass break. Oh, he's messing with his girlfriend. Who the fuck is bringing you food? Oh my God. Did you see me drop food word? God. Go sleep at Shawty's house. Say it's a prank. Yep. Before I show up at your job. Uh-oh. Yep. 3,015 Bs without an engagement ring. What is that, like almost 10 years? Yeah. Subtle hints. Yeah, subtle. Hello. Brings you snacks after draining the life out of you. All righty. Mm-hmm.
I miss ya, I really want to kiss you, but I can't.
Okay. Jordan 6s, okay. Infrared. Okay. What year was this? It's a long time ago. They're here. Jordans. Time to wrap them. Oh, nice. Sweet. Oh, so cute. Yep. Okay. Well.
So I'm at work last night. My wife sends me this text. She says, Christmas is coming up. Just keep this in mind. That is a $9,500 ring.
Uh-huh. Pretty rocks. Pretty rocks.
Sweetheart, I'll make a deal with you. I will buy you a $9,500 ring for Christmas if my Christmas gift can be that you never get to say the phrase, not tonight, I have a headache.
Exactly.
Jaden, can you not do that, please?
My legs need to stretch.
Hey, please don't do that.
But
Just take your shoes off now.
Well, they just need to stretch.
Just take the shoes.
New Hard Mountain Dew.
Another
is
commercial.
finally here with 5%
Hard
alcohol.
Mountain Dew.
Freak out
Goody.
responsibly.
Goody, goody, goody.
Oh, just a couple more seconds.
Okay.
What are we doing?
I just gotta do something.
Oh, dear. What are you doing?
Just gotta do something.
What's going on here now?
What are
Oh,
you
he pulls her out of
doing?
the car and throws her in the back. Yeah.
Kevin, what are you doing?
Don't put your feet on the dash, woman.
There's a spot for my little bunny.
My little bunny. Oh, it's so cute.
Kevin!
I like it.
Are you for real?
Teach you to put your feet.
Yeah.
Making my husband's lunch for his 14-hour shift part 2.
Oh, yeah. I remember
Overnight
seeing this
oats.
one. Oats, yep. Cinnamon. There you go. Almond bark? Oh, interesting. I'm getting hungry. Damn it. All right. Fry up some tortillas. Whatever. Oh. Salad? Yeah.
Taco salad.
Yummy. Yep. Red onions on there. Yep. Nice. And a sandwich too. All right. Ooh, bacon sandwich.
BLT.
Yeah. Oh man, I'd love to have one right now. Yum. That looks pretty good. Love me a BLT. Dressing on there too? Okay. I probably wouldn't do that, but yeah, mayonnaise is usually good enough.
Snacks.
Cookies. Anna. I love you. Have a great day. Wonderful.
Coffee.
Better call up Chris Mitchell and order a pizza.
Taken way too soon. It ain't the same here without you.
Yep. All right. There you go. All right. Wait. There you are. I lost you guys. Midnight Runner 4, red flag in our hand. Yeah. Black Eagle, nacho salad. It's mine. Yum. Yeah, it looked pretty good. Don't forget. Yeah, that would work as well. SCE, where do you buy a wife like that? I have no idea. Find one at the wife store, I guess. Listen to Carrie Lake, who's running for governor, I believe, of Arizona. So she's pretty sharp. She's good. She used to be a what was she? TV person, I believe. So she's pretty slick. The voice is pretty good. Polish Pony cut. Let's see here. Cut, drag line to catch him. Yeah. Ayrton is here. These new airplane landing sounds and pictures seem different. Yes, they are. They're a little different than normal. Never, ever, ever simp. Yeah, that'll get her drier than the Sahara Desert for sure. So Carrie Lake, what is she doing? Is she doing anything interesting? Carrie Lake. Oh, versus CNN reporter. That was pretty good, actually. Did you guys see that one? Let's see there. Carrie Lake. Hold up. Lake, CNN reporter. There we go. That was pretty good. We'll do that one quick. So, let's see. These people are evil bastards. Let's do that one. Yeah. She must be talking about the press.
Points to use for a free night, so you can extra how
a
you
free
extra
night
at any of our 6,000 hotels. New IHG1 rewards.
All right.
Guessed how you guessed.
Lovely.
The chef's chicken sandwiches at Panera,
see, there's all this
freshly
food.
prepared with clean ingredients.
They must be listening to us. It's like, now I'm hungry.
The senses. So when you finally taste it, it just
I just don't have anything
this
like that in
is
the
fantastic,
house.
and only at Panera.
I think I am going to make chili tomorrow.
Limited time.
It's supposed to be like in the 50s and raining.
I'm
tomorrow.
Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News.
Hello.
On Saturday, fresh from her Arizona Republican gubernatorial primary victory, right-wing firebrand Carrie Lake spoke at CPAC, blasting her political opposition and treatment by the media. Lake, a Trump-endorsed Republican and former local news anchor, said she welcomed the vitriol and strife the world of politics has sent her way. Lake has fashioned herself in Trump's mold, especially in her criticisms of the media and hardline stances on immigration, in which she has used controversial rhetoric, likening border crossings to an invasion. Lake has consistently polled slightly below Democrat Katie Hobbs, Arizona's incumbent Secretary of State.
There she is. TV anchor, I believe.
Now, thank God I did not know what this would entail back then. God only showed me a little part of the path. If he would have showed me the whole darn thing, I might not be standing here. The lies, the nastiness, the endless attacks on myself.
I can't even hear her.
And my family, my children. They would follow us.
Terrible
They follow
sound.
my children. Take pictures of them. They park outside of our house. These people are evil bastards.
She is talking about the press. Yeah, that I can't hear it. And if I can't hear it, you guys sure as hell can't hear it. So let's do another one. Evil bastards. Here, this is the CNN one. This is pretty good.
Hi. Hi.
Nice to see you.
You don't have a mask on anymore. What's going
we're
on?
outside. Do you have a minute to
Well, we're
chat?
6 feet apart.
Do you have a minute to chat?
I'll do an interview.
Okay.
As long as it airs on CNN Plus. Does that still exist? I didn't think so
no,
because
it
the
doesn't
people don't
exist
like
anymore.
what you guys are peddling,
Yep.
which is propaganda. Thank you.
Yep. Republican Kerry Lake slams Australian.
I don't live in Australia. Are you actually a respectable journalist there, or are you kind of considered a joke?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Walked out of an interview in protest. Yes. She's got a little spunk. Gotta like that. Who is this guy? Mr. Bartlett works for Current Affairs 60 Minutes. Oh, 60 Minutes. What do you expect? Yeah, it is kind of a joke, actually. Let's see. Let's stop this. 25-minute interview started respectfully enough before Mr. Bartlett accused the Trump-backed Republican of xenophobia and perpetuating conspiracy theories. Oh, okay. Of course, she's a phobe of some sort. Obviously, look at the Nazi over here. Oh my God! Candid vision shot by it's published online. Yeah, if you're ever in an interview with the press, if you ever find yourself in that position, always record it. Make a copy for yourself.
I hope the people of Australia are waking up to the media. This is a perfect example of the insanity of the media.
Yep.
It's just crazy. You're calling people
the media.
names.
It's the media. It's this sort of amorphous mass that
Are you
somehow comes up
actually?
with this narrative.
I don't live in Australia. Are you actually a respectable journalist there, or are you kind of considered a joke? Seriously.
Incredible.
I hope this gets put,
That's
put in
the
the
Donald Trump way, isn't it? It's fake news. All of a sudden, it's fake news.
Hey,
if you have a different
Liam,
narrative, it's fake news.
Liam, sir, I worked in the news for 30 years. I get how it works. It's hit rock bottom and it keeps going lower.
Yep.
I don't know if you have viewers who still watch, but here in America, people are tuning out the corporate media.
Oh, true.
Yeah, they are. They really are. Sorry to tell you that. Days are numbered, buddy. If you want to keep pushing propaganda, your days are numbered. And I
We're
don't know.
pushing propaganda.
Oh
That's
my
rich.
gosh! If you can't see it, sir, then you're even more brainwashed than you could imagine. And I feel for the people of Australia. They're being abused by their leaders. They have no rights, and their media is continuing to try to brainwash them. You were probably one of the guys pushing the fear with COVID, so that people would stay in their homes and wouldn't go out, and that the children would be masked. You were probably one of the guys pushing that fear on your TV station. And I'll tell you what, the masking of children and the torture of the people are never going to forgive you for that. And they're never going to forget. So I suppose you're the kind of guy that masks your children, right?
I think it's ABC
I
News.
suppose you're the sort of woman who also believes the moon landing was a conspiracy. I mean, how many institutions can we tear down in this?
Oh my goodness. So are you masking your children? Is that your way of not answering? Are you masking your children, your beautiful children's faces?
Yeah.
See, this is what Donald Trump does, doesn't he? This is what Donald Trump does. Straight out of his playbook.
Liam,
he attacks
Liam,
the personal.
Liam,
you
it was
attack
a-
the personal
Liam-
if you don't like the real truth.
Liam, it was a pleasure meeting you. This has just become comical. I'm leaving. Actually, thank you
Oh.
for giving me a good
was
laugh
on the
because
wrong screen.
you actually make some of the crazy
Oh,
reporters
no.
and people at CNN look almost respectable. So thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
I think that was on ABC, Drew. Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Sky News, I think, is more like a like a Fox News, I think, more so. Not sure about that. The Aussies would know. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah. Is ABC paid for by the Australian government? I believe it is.
Hi. Hi.
Nice to see you. Jump off and CNN.
You don't have a
Let's see if
mask
we
on
can- let's see
anymore.
if we can
We're
find some
outside.
ABC.
Wow, well, we're 6 feet apart.
Do you have a minute to chat?
I'll do an interview.
Australia.
As long as it airs on CNN Plus.
Australia.
Does that still
Australia.
exist?
Let's see. Talking about the Queen here. Yeah, ABC News Australia, I believe. That's where Jordan Peterson, I believe, was. Did you guys ever see that one? Oh, God. Peterson. Yeah. It was pretty good if you ever have a chance to watch this. Well, why not? We'll just do it now. What the hell?
You can always find
Oh, you can
incredible
buy a
everyday low
sofa.
prices at Slumberland
Yay.
Furniture, starting as low as $3.99.
Right. Bomberito. Which one is this? Nissan. Okay, they're in St.
The
Louis.
West is fundamentally best characterized as an oppressive patriarchy, which is it's absolutely absurd proposition.
Yeah.
And that as a consequence, whatever actions they might take that are forthright and ambitious in terms of participating in that system are by the very nature of the system destructive. It's very difficult for me to understand how anybody can be properly motivated if that's the fundamental view of society and male participation in it.
I've said it before. If we live in a patriarchy in the United States and the West, we sure we don't have a very good one. It's not really working.
And I don't buy any of that. I think the idea that the West is fundamentally an oppressive patriarchy is an appalling idea. And
it's bullshit. Of course it is. But they got to have something, right? Whether it's the fembots or the BLM types or the race hustlers out there, they got to have it. No, we're not a race. Oh, yes, you are. That's why we have to make our money on this organization. Yeah, we get it.
Notion that
Chills. Yeah.
The proper way to view history is as a battleground between ethnic identities or identities in general, or between men and women, it borders on the pathological. And so maybe it exceeds just merely bordering on the pathological.
Yeah.
The worst violence, can be the violence of the mind. And I think men today in our society are told, virtually from their young age to now, when they grow up, that they're doing the wrong thing, that they have done the wrong thing historically, that there's no place for them. And I think that's what Jordan speaks to a lot of young men. And look, I'm a father of 3 young boys under 5. And, reading a lot of Jordan Peterson's works through the book, I can understand why it resonates with a lot of people, because men today have lost their identity. And I think feminism has become a movement to overtake masculinity. And
Section 107, fair use act.
Well, sure
I don't hate men. I'm not trying to destroy men. Alex, that's ridiculous.
Let's look at the empirical evidence. Let's look at the empirical in our schools. It's boys who are falling behind now, actually, in primary schools. It's boys who are falling behind at universities. It's young men who are suffering and have the worst mental impacts. It's the highest rates of youth suicide. It's a serious issue. And
we can't talk about that, though, because women. See, I mean, that's also a part of this whole thing, is that they think we're taking the spotlight off of them, right? Concentrating on other problems, and no, we can't have that. We're the center of attention.
I think the question is right. I mean, yes, there's a lot of disenfranchisement in the world, but there are movements persecuting men in today's world.
It's almost as though we're talking about a structural issue.
I bet you can guess this is the feminist, right?
And you're talking about a personal issue, and people who take personally the idea that we need to change structures, I think are misreading what the complaint is that people have. And so for me, the problem that I have with kind of structural rigidity.
Shadow Minister for Employment Services. Well, she ought to know, probably. I'm sure there are different plans, different programs in Australia to get more women into certain things, right? Any plans to get more men? No. Men are privileged and they have all the power, right?
Of gender roles for men and women is that they hurt men and they hurt women. They hurt both.
Yeah, sure.
They hurt the men who want to stay home longer with their kids.
It's always that bullshit, isn't it? I want to stay home longer. Oh, we'll pass a law then. Do it like Denmark or Norway. They get a half a year off or something.
They hurt men in real physical ways, because we do have a problem in this country where women are more likely to be the victims of violence at home. Men are more likely to be the victims of violence in public. But in both, the common factor is it's men committing the violence by and large. But
we can't disagree with that. True.
Exclusively, but by and large. And so these rigid kind of ideas of masculinity.
However, men suffer domestic violence at the same rate as women. It's been shown by the statistics. Might not be violence per se, but it's other stuff.
Masculinity hurt everyone. And so when we talk about feminism, when we talk about changing those structures,
every time you start hearing that's a Marxism. That's more socialism.
It's to create an equality for the benefit.
Because you don't like capitalism, right? When they say patriarchy, what they mean is capitalism. By the way,
of everyone, and to get rid of some of the things that hold everyone back.
The oppressive. Think about it. It's the oppressive, evil capitalism, right? Sound familiar? Anyone? Karl Marx? Yes?
The fundamental truth we need to grasp here is that men are not oppressed because they're men. Men will be oppressed in their lives for all kinds of different reasons. They might be oppressed because they're working class. They might be oppressed because of their ethnicity or their religion or their age or their sexuality or their ability status. But at no point in human history have all men been judged, oppressed, disenfranchised, kicked out of institutions on behalf of their maleness. That just has not happened.
Okay. And the point?
What has happened in the West is that we developed democracy. And democracy actually meant the enfranchisement of all of us. It means the conversations about what society looks like, what manners are, what behaviour is, what courtesy looks like has changed because it's not one group making that decision anymore. And I understand that that's a difficult transition.
Now, wait a minute. How long have women had the right to vote in the United States? Over 100 years. I don't know about Australia. I'm sure it's similar, right? So we've had 10 decades. So what are we talking about right now? You're acting as if women just got the right to vote yesterday. Come on now.
For people who've grown up with narratives where those decisions and those institutions belong to a very narrow demographic of people, which, by the way, never included all men, that it's difficult to get your heads around a new way of behaving and engaging. But it's necessary because we are actually a community. We are one society. We all have an equal right to participate.
And yes, absolutely. So why are you speaking of this? It's obvious. Of course, women have the right to vote. They can vote their own thing and whatever. What is she even saying? Why bring up something that hasn't been around for 100 years? My God.
And taking bait from internet misogynists on the oppression of men is not a conversation that I get into. I've been on the internet too long to fall for it. Men are not oppressed as a general group. My sympathy to
Neither are women. No?
any man who does feel oppression in any other part of his life.
The point Van made is very difficult to argue with, in the sense that if we'll start on a level playing field, it's no coincidence that women have only been largely voting and participating in democracy in Australia in the 20th century. Now, is that
Again, that's a whole century, sir, ma'am. He was a dude, transition. So
total lack of
Catherine, I believe, is her name.
Intelligence, capacity, or fairness?
But again, I mean, am I wrong here? They're acting as if women just got the right to vote yesterday. I mean, come on. One could say some of the, you could say that since women got the right to vote, things have gotten a little bit different, not necessarily in a good way.
I don't know. It strikes me that you only have to look at most of those metrics to realise that the empowerment of women, the emergence of women from life beyond child rearing, and this is not to derogate child rearing at all.
Again, what decade are we talking about here?
It's a vital foundational institution. But as women's horizons have expanded, in a finite number of opportunities, some men have lost out, especially with as we've automated the expansion of technology that has removed a huge amount of emphasis on traditional masculine attributes of physical strength and so on. The workplace has changed. It's a fluid, dynamic environment.
Yes.
Men are feeling threatened by this. And there is a sense that some men are translating it as they're losing.
What I tell people consistently is that they have to look to themselves. And it's not because I believe that people are in full control of their lives. We're all subject to bad breaks and sometimes to terrible luck, but your best bet is to do what you can to take care of yourself properly, to treat yourself like you're someone responsible for helping, which is rule 2, by the way, partly because I do believe in this ancient, fundamentally Western idea that people are of intrinsic value. I mean, look, we're all given the sovereign right to organize our own states, the responsibility to vote. Our very state assumes that you have the wisdom to keep the ship of state sailing straight. And it's because there's something about you that, at least in principle, has the possibility of being remarkable if it can be manifested. And
me and my sister were talking about this. Sometimes it seems like the politicians treat us as idiots. And I'm like, maybe they're right. Oh, maybe they're right.
And I'm reminding people that not only do we believe that, but that it seems to be true. And it isn't obvious to me that there is anyone, or there has been anyone for the last 4 or 5 decades, let's say, who's done a credible job of drawing a relationship between the meaning in life that you need to sustain you and responsibility. And not just for you, because it's not an individualistic idea. It's responsibility for you and your family
Coming up to
and your community. That'll do the trick. And your broader society.
The bigger issue is looking at disenfranchisement. People aren't disenfranchised. If you're being sold that it's feminism, a movement for equality that's never thrown a bomb, that's never picked up a gun, that's disenfranchising you.
That's not true. Fembots used to bomb shit, not in Australia, but other
or
places.
globalism or socialism. We have not lived in socialist economies in the West in a very long time.
And
it's been 4 decades of neoliberalism, and it's neoliberalism which has smashed communities. It's neoliberalism which has made consumption and material acquisition dominant values in society. It's neoliberalism that has destroyed the workplace and made jobs insecure and made our experience of economy so unstable.
If we just had socialism, everything would be great.
If people are feeling disenfranchised, if men feel disenfranchised, please let me reassure you that women feel disenfranchised as well.
Oh, no way.
Because we are all living in this destabilized economy.
Yeah, then what we need is a good healthy dose of socialism.
And we are all suffering from that kind of consumer ideology.
Big old slab of
I think it's a
socialism.
lazy term, identity politics. All politics is identity politics.
Okay.
Parties campaign on identity. It's whether they say we're a party of individual
There was a good part
freedom.
that I don't think
That's
is
an
in this
identity,
one.
It's a concept.
Where Jordan Peterson goes after the shadow minister or whatever. But I think excuse me, jeez. Sorry about that. Sorry, I blew your speakers out. Australia, Cassie J. You guys remember this one? J interview. I think this was ABC, but I'm not sure. Was it this one? I think this is it. But if you guys haven't seen this yet,
which the Women in Film Organization.
Cassie's in Australia to promote her
Nope,
documentary.
different
And
one.
she joins us now. Cassie, thanks very much for joining us on the show. I
This
think
one
it's
isn't
fair to
too bad.
say it's been something of a hostile reception to the documentary in Australia. Has it been uniquely so?
It has been uniquely so. In the rest of the world, we've actually had.
I got to find that other one. It's much better. Where is it? It's got to be here. There's this just vile douchebag. This just not good. Did I spell her name right? No, I bet it's Cass E. I-E. Oh, hold on. All right. I-E. Let's see. Where the hell? Oh, is it this one? Yes, it's I think it's this one. Oh my God, she rolls her eyes at the end. Yeah, this douchebag.
Documentary,
Yeah.
The Red Pill,
There we
is in
go.
Australia to promote her film, which has sparked protests and been banned by Australian cinemas for being anti-women. But Cassie J claims that she was a feminist who changed her views on gender equality while making the film about men's rights movement.
Yep.
We have a big hole in the area of compassion for boys and
Mark
men.
Farrell.
It's time for us to quit apologizing.
What was that? Copyright
for
something?
being for men's rights. It's
Fair
time
use,
for us
fair
to
use.
quit apologizing for being men.
I think I agree with everything you said, but there's still some kind of unsettling doubt.
The Red Pill is about looking at these issues in an honest way, even when it's uncomfortable.
Boy, that that resolution's terrible. Oh my God, that's
The
awful.
documentary has been slammed by women's groups as
Of course it has. We can't have men getting any attention.
misogynist propaganda.
Yes.
And Cassie J joins us now. Thanks for being with us, Cassie. There seems to be 2 issues here. There is the issue of the film's content that some disagree with, and then there's the issue of freedom of speech. So let's deal with that. Are you dismayed that
She roasts the deuce. If you haven't seen this, you'll enjoy it because she roasts the
some
douchebagger.
people won't be able to see the film and make up their own minds because of the protests, specifically here in Australia?
Absolutely. I think people need to see the film in order to have an opinion about the film. And unfortunately, in Australia, we've had so many screens.
You know, that would be one way to get the get the feel of what the movie's about, is to actually watch it.
Pulled from theaters that is preventing Australians
Keep that in mind.
from being able to see the film for themselves.
Yeah, which, you know, as you say, sort of restricts the conversation that we're able to have around this. Now, on the content of the film, Cassie, I mean, I think it's really interesting, and it's important probably to highlight some of the issues that men are facing in the modern world that they feel are, you know, really holding them back or getting them down. But can I ask you this? If you wanted to make a film about the issues facing the modern man, why did you have to focus on the views of these extreme misogynists of the men's right movement? People like...
Look at Cassie. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Paul Elam. Why do you highlight...
Paul Elam is an extreme misogynist, guys. Yeah.
Like men's issues by promoting men who minimize women's issues?
Well, you have to see the film to see why I interviewed Paul Elam, because I had been a feminist of about 10 years before making the Red Pill movie. And all my previous work was about women's issues or gender, LGBT rights, gay marriage, that sort of thing. I've always been interested in gender politics. And I came across Paul Elam's writings on avoiceformen.com, and I was shocked and appalled and offended as a feminist woman. And so I decided to make a film about a voice for men and the men's rights movement and you know, the large scope of that, because
those evil Nazis
no one had ever made a film about the men's rights movement before. And so I interviewed 44 different people for this film, feminists and men's rights activists. And, you know, it's a very complicated topic when looking at men's issues. It is,
you're absolutely right. But it just seems to me that you don't really question their views in the film.
Did you see the film?
Oh, Cassie.
It seems to me that you don't really question their views in the film.
Did you see the film?
Well, we saw as much as we could because your publicist wouldn't send us the full thing.
I sent you the screener link actually to the full film.
But so we watched as much as we.
So here she's talking to the douchebag. She sent him the film. I think it was weeks before this.
You could, yeah, but
you could also buy the film on Google Play, Vimeo, and Amazon Prime.
Be that as it may, you know, it just
apparently they don't have any of those things in Australia.
Seems from what I have seen of the film, there's not a lot of questioning of some of their views. That's all.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, you haven't seen the film, douchebag. Trust me, I've seen the film. It's lots of questions.
Absolutely. If you've seen the film, you would see the questions that I asked and their answers. And this film is not propaganda. I'm not promoting any kind of view that the viewer should take away. It's simply a journey looking at what men's rights activists have to say, what the feminist rebuttal is, and the audience is able to make up their own mind.
Well, just on Paul Elam and about the questions that you asked him, did you ask him about his writings where he had encouraged people to go out and bash women?
Yes,
or about
I did ask him about all of that.
Yes, she did.
Was that included in the film? And what did he say about that? And did you?
Now, keep in mind, these people, their job is to interview people. This is what they do for a living. And they didn't even watch the friggin' movie or anything. They have preconceived notions. They come in. It's misogyny, it's Nazis, it's all this other bullshit. And Cassie's like, it's in the film. All the things you're asking is in the film. Everything.
Did you agree with his original writings on that?
I do not agree with his approach and his kind of provocateur approach to these issues. But at the same time, the way that he tries to get people to listen is by offending them to get them to read his website. And, you know, ironically enough, that's what got me to make the film was I was offended by him. And so I looked deeper. I went down the rabbit hole, and that's the Red Pill movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've done a lot of reading around Paul Elam over the years. In fact,
are you sure? Are you sure, dude?
Interviewed Paul Elam, and there's no denying that a lot of what he says is deeply misogynist.
No, it's not. It simply is not. Now, I don't know about this particular article he wrote. It sounds like, as Cassie said, he was trying to be provocative to get a reaction.
My concern, Cassie, is just is that in setting up these guys as the spokesman for the issues that men face, we promote an opposition between men and feminism that's counterproductive to the genders working together to solve everyone's problems.
My film looks at what men's rights activists have to say, all the different voices and approaches to this conversation, and what feminists have to say. And it's just allowing the viewers to make up their own mind. I think we have to have this conversation about what is going on for men in family courts and male disposability and falling behind in education and paternity rights and all of these things.
I totally agree that they are all conversations worth having. Why not have them with regular men, not guys who are in charge?
Oh, this was terrible for Cassie. She's like, what are you people talking about?
Conversations worth having. Why not have them with regular men, not guys who are in charge of the most misogynistic, anti-woman, anti-feminist organizations in the world?
I interviewed Dr. Warren Farrell, who is very even-minded.
Not only that, he was in National Organization for Women. The most misogynist organizations. Okay.
I also interviewed Mark Angelucci, an attorney who works on behalf of men's issues. I interviewed Fred Hayward, who is a father who lost his custody of his son. I interviewed plenty of very sound-minded people in the film, men's rights activists. Paul Elam is certainly one of the most, eccentric voices in the movement.
Sure.
And I, of course, have to show him.
Okay. Cassie, why did you decide to renounce your feminism after this and say that you're not a feminist anymore?
Well, you have to see the film to see what led me down
But
that.
for all the people that haven't seen the film,
Oh,
can
God.
you just explain why you were not after just equality? Because isn't that what feminism is?
Oh, God. Jesus Christ.
Just explain why you were not after just equality, because isn't that what feminism is? Just
Well,
equality.
I am for
No, it's not. It's a women's rights movement. It's not for men.
gender equality. I absolutely care about women's issues and girls being empowered full-handedly. That is my innate passion in life, was looking into women's issues. That's why I spent 10 years making films about women's issues, and I still hold true to that. But feminism is an ideology that really wants to keep the blinders on, just looking at women and girls issues and blaming men for women and girls problems. And they don't look at male victims. And I think
They don't care. It's a women's rights movement.
need to look at male victims if we're talking about gender equality.
Of course. I mean, I think you can be feminist and still, look at men's problems. I mean, you're talking about a very, very small slice of feminism that's got blinders on. It's like saying all feminists are like, it's like saying all women who are feminists are like the men's rights movements representing all men.
Feminism does blame men by the use of the word patriarchy to blame men for all the ills of the world. So feminism even blames men for their own issues, blaming it on patriarchy. So it's the fault of men, and it's a way to dismiss men's issues by blaming men for their own problems.
I don't think it's inherently blameful. But anyway,
All right, Cassie J.
It's an interesting discussion, a really interesting discussion, Cassie.
You know, shouldn't you be interviewing her, douchebag? You know, we don't really care what you think. We kind of want to hear what the guest has to say.
Thank you for being with us.
I would like to say I'm for gender equality. I'm for women's rights and men's rights now. And I'm not a men's rights activist. And the film was not funded by MRAs. That is a lie that's being perpetuated by Australian media. TheRedPillMovie.com.
All right, terrific.
Thank you.
I mean, well worth viewing.
Yeah, if you can get on to see it, which we haven't been able to on several occasions. All right.
Right, sure. Whatever you guys say. Beta Bucks, I don't know. That guy's a. I remember that SCE, yeah. Before they killed him, that's right. That the one dude came and murdered him in California. But you never hear about that, though, do you? What you hear is he tried to assassinate a judge who was a female. Don't hear about Mark Angelucci. Nope. Wonder why that is. Dr. Phil McGraw tried to get Paul Elam and Sandman on his show. Both declined after seeing. Yes. Oh my God, you bring that up. We should probably do that one too. Lisa Ling and Big John. Just if you're ever in a position to do media, record the whole thing and release it on your own. That's what Kurzak. What was the guy's name on the what was that? The feminism, men's rights, or whatever with the incel guy. He recorded the whole thing, and it was way different than what was shown on the YouTube. Stream unavailable. Stream suspended for policy violations is their subtle way of saying, yep, that's right. Yep, correct. Red Rhino is here. Hello. RP Pope, channel 1-800-DUMB. I wonder if we can find that Lisa Ling. It's not too long. We'll do one more. I'm full of energy tonight. I'm just not drinking. Oh, I know. It's terrible. Lisa Ling. Ling and Big John. I've had a run-in with the press a little bit, and I was interviewed for this thing. We don't have to talk about exactly what it was, but my words were twisted around into what I didn't say. Pretty amazing stuff. So, let's see. Big John. Where the hell is that? You'd think you'd see it, wouldn't you? I used to watch Big John all the time, and they just kind of disappeared. He used to drink his scotch and all that stuff. You guys remember what it was called? Yeah, I don't. Genius Sperm Bank. Oh, okay. All right. Where's Big John and Lisa Ling? It's got to be here, right? Oh, I guess I'll have to find it another time. What was it called? Like men's rights activism or something? What the heck was it? Lisa Ling, and it's probably men's rights. MRA. MRA. That's not it. Our America with Lisa Ling. What is she doing? Yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it. So unfortunately, just not available too easily, apparently. I'd have to remember. Maybe you guys know if you know what the hell it was called. Yeah, federal judge. Yeah, that's right. And I think he did kill her kid. I believe, didn't he? Murdered the kid, and then I think he offed himself. But yeah, he killed Angelucci, and then he drove over. Apparently, went to the other side of the country, and tried to get the judge. So, Society for what was that? Society for Men's Freedom. Okay. Society Men's Freedom. Was that Angelucci's outfit? Young Men's Ultimate Weekend Lost Boys. I don't know what the hell it is. Benzo Crisis. Huh. Not seeing it. Huh. That's actually pretty good. But yeah, it was a terrible interview. It was awful. Made him look like just, yeah. They made him look like exactly what they wanted him to look like. He's an evil man and all that other happy crap. Pretty standard. Yeah, I can't find it. So we'll just have to do it another time. All right. Carrie Lake aged well. Yeah, I mean, she's 30 years in, I guess, in TV. You know, I mean, she wasn't out working in the hot sun. I mean, she was on TV, but yeah, Hatchet Job is exactly right. That's exactly what it was. So I'm going to see if I can find that and maybe jump back on. I don't know. I'm not ready to go to bed yet. So, but I'll finish this one off and maybe we'll see you guys later. Bye. Oh, wait, I got to hit the button.